What up? Man, yeah, I see on Facebook, Instagram, everywhere, people talking about black men, black relationships, so on and so forth. And you know the number one problem? The number one problem is every black man looking at some black woman for permission to be the man he wants to be. That's why all these men are not men. Dig this here. Smoke this over. I'm going to try to say this in such a way where this video doesn't get taken down, so you can understand the point I'm making to you. A nerdy guy says, I want to create something that doesn't exist. Not only do I want to create something that doesn't exist, I want to use this creation to make me cool, get me money, get me in every room I want to be in, get me closest to the best woman in the world, give me the biggest house, the biggest bank account, etc., etc., etc. Let's say this gentleman isn't black. You know what this gentleman doesn't have to deal with? Explaining why he feels it's possible for him to have these things or deserve them. He may have to deal with people thinking he's crazy. He may have to deal with people thinking that he can't do it. But he does not have to deal with explaining to his mother why he want to take these risks. Or can he survive from taking these risks? Not that his mother's going to have disagreements with his career choices, but she doesn't have to worry about him dying from trying. Also, he doesn't have to take the little bit of money he gets and come spend it with me, the black man, to prove to his woman he loves her. These two facts alone create an opportunity for every other man who's not this type of man to succeed beyond measure that we don't have. I remember going to college. Before I could deal with what it was I wanted to go to college for, I had to deal with my mother's fear about me being at college. Not just her fear about me being in college, but her fear of what it was going to take to pay for it because she couldn't. This wasn't her problem. Wasn't her problem at all. It took her about 4 or 5 months into the semester before she filled out her tax information for me to go to school. Now, I don't feel it is fair that I, as an 18-year-old, need her tax information for me to go to school, but that's the law. So now I'm behind. And I'm doing all type of things to catch up from being behind due to some woman's fear. Now, her fear is legitimately. DNA carries memory. A black woman has all these fears because what was happening to black men for 450 years, all the way up into the 60s. Matter of fact, all the way up until now. Nigga being pulled, cut, hung for nothing, dick cut off. You know the story. Or maybe you don't, but that's what happened. So this is why black women feel the need to overly protect the nigga. But the flip side of that coin is it's a hindrance. Now, if I was a different hue and I wanted to own all the land, have all the gold, have all the women, have all the money, all the fame, all the whatever, by hook or crook, I wouldn't have to explain this to nobody. Me and my wife and my kid's mother, we would deal with that in a divorce. Me and my mother would deal with that on her deathbed. But never would I ever be stopped in the middle of obtaining these things by either of these women. But as a black man, as soon as I decide that I want these things before I make it out the house to go for them, I got to explain to every woman in my life and deal with her fears. And it's kind of funny because the same woman that would put their fears on me, I would have to hear their complaints about the men that's less of a man. And this is why we can't succeed. Because right there at that point, we're working against each other. Neither one of us should be asking ourselves to be less of ourselves to be with one another. Especially seeing how none of us have what we are supposed to have in life. But yet and still, that's what we expect. That's a bullshit expectation because all of us want more out of a life, but none of us are willing to sacrifice some shit that's worthless. We're not willing to sacrifice what's worthless to get what's worth something. So how can we get anything? Now, me as a man, I'm not willing to hold any woman around me back from what they want, no matter how it may make me feel. But every woman around me is willing to hold me back based on how they feel, even though it may bring them what they want and what they need. Is it their fault? No. This shit was planned oh so long ago. But until we both recognize where we are on that side of the spectrum, then we can't get past it. We can't get past it. At this point, we have been robbed so much, we can't talk about where we have been cheated. We need to talk about what we can do. In Japan, they fixed the problem. Now, who may be to blame for the problem is something that they get to later. But for progression, they fixed the problem. Now, Japan has been free about the same amount of time that we has been free as African Americans. They have been able to do more. They have been able to do more in the last 60 or so years than we have been able to do. Matter of fact, I take that back. China was more oppressed than Japan. Shit, Japan oppressed China. And look what they've been able to do in the past 60 years. And the money that us as black people spend is damn near equivalent to some of these countries, and we don't own no land. And it's not so much about us working together, it's about us working with ourselves, working with the choices we made. You know what I'm saying? If somebody's around me and they're good at a dangerous job and it's what they want to do, it's my job to support them, not to put stress, worry, and frustration on them with my feelings. Especially when what they're able to do is beneficial to what we do. It's my job to support them. It's my job to fall in line. And that may be what you need to do. Quit judging people for what they do, especially when they're good at it. If you fuck with them, they fuck with you, you might need to fall in line. Because you're going to need them to fall in line for you. And it ain't so much about us liking each other. It's about us supporting each other. And that don't mean reaching in your pocket. That don't mean telling somebody was cool, telling somebody something is cool that isn't cool. It mean if you see something working for somebody and it's beneficial to you and they ain't robbing another black person to do it, and you see where they going, and where they going is where they need to be, then how could you stop that? Feelings are temporary. Feelings are very fucking temporary. What you don't like today, you may love tomorrow. What you love tomorrow, you may not like the next week. But how you make somebody... Your contributions are forever. Feelings are temporary. Your contributions are forever. And sometimes a contribution is just not being in somebody's way. Real shit. Something to think about. We out this bitch.